Hey guys, welcome back. And in this lesson, you will be scaffolding or creating your first React application using a tool called Create React App. As you all know, that React is a framework that was created by Facebook. Facebook has also gifted us with this wonderful library called Create React App. What Create React App does basically is that it scaffolds a new basic React application for you, and you don't have to worry about any complicated stuff like build configuration and all of that. All you have to do is run a command, name your application, and it creates the application directory for you. In this video, we'll be creating our application and looking at the directory structure, basically the different files and folders that Create React App creates for us. Now, to install Create React App, follow the instructions mentioned in the GitHub repository, which I will be linking to below this video, and then we can get started. To create your React application, what we'll do is we'll first open our terminal or command prompt in Windows. Then we'll move into the directory or directory or folder where we want to create a React application. To do that, we'll move into the desktop. And to create a new application, a new React application, all you have to do is run this command: npx create react app and the name of your app, which is to do list, and then you have to hit enter. As you can see, it is creating a new application that we have a new folder here called to do list. It will install all the dependencies required for this application to work, and once it's done, it will tell us what to do. As you can see, it has created an application for us, and it has given a list of wonderful instructions that we can use to do different things. You can use the yarn start command to start the server. The server will basically load up your application on localhost 3000. 3000 is the port number. Then you can use yarn build to create an op- then you can use yarn build to create an optimized version of your application, which can be used over the internet. You can also run tests through yarn tests, but this is something we won't be covering in this lesson. So we will move to the to-do list directory or folder, and we'll open this folder in Visual Studio Code. You can do that by typing in code and space dot. Dot denotes the current directory. As you can see, the Create React app has created a few folders for us, and each folder has some files. So we have a node modules folder, we have a public folder, we have a src or source folder. Then we have a gitignore file, a package.json, a readme.markdown file, and a yarn log file. So the node modules folder contains all of our JavaScript dependencies. Whenever you install a new dependency, which I will show you how to do, that gets stored in this folder. Then the public folder contains all the public documents. It contains the favicon. The favicon is basically an icon that you see on the title bar of the browser. The index.html is basically a file that contains all of your head, body, scripts, and everything. The manifest.json file is used to set some basic properties about your React application. Whatever you edit in this file, whenever you serve, gets changed in these meta tags. Then in the source directory, which is the main directory that we'll be working with, it creates a bunch of files. So app.js contains our app component. So as you remember from the last video, we visualize our React components. So this component, the outermost component, is the app component. This is the app component. This will contain all of our other components. This is the app.test.js file. You don't really need to get worried about this too much because we won't be testing in this lesson. It is basically to create different tests and run those tests to see which tests fail and which tests succeed. The next file is the index.css, which is a cascading style sheet to set the global CSS properties for your application. The app.css file is the cascading style sheet for your app component. The next is our logo.svg. This is the vector graphic that appears when we launch the application, which I will show you in a minute. Then this is our index.js file. In the index.js file, we have a bunch of imports. This file is basically telling React to render the app component wherever we get the root ID on the index.html. So if I load up index.html, here you will see that there is this div id.root. So whenever you fire up the React server, this index.js replaces that div with this app component. The next is register service worker. You really don't need to get worried about this file at all. I know it looks a bit complicated. All that this file does is gets your application ready to make it a progressive web app, which is basically a hybrid app that can act as a native application on your phone. Something similar to an application that you download from Play Store or App Store, but it's actually a web application. So that this file does that, and this file, as you can see, is imported in the index.js file, and you run this function. So you don't need to get worried about this. We won't even be looking at it or touching it, but just for your information. Next up is the gitignore file. The gitignore file basically tells which file you don't need under version control. If you ever worked with version control like Git and GitHub, you would know that there are certain files you don't need to keep tracking modifications for, and this file holds down those directories and files. The package.json is basically a configuration file that tells which dependencies we require, what is the name of our application, what is the version of our application, whether this application is private or not, and the list of dependencies required to run this application. Right now we haven't installed any external dependencies yet, so the only three dependencies we have are React DOM, which is the document object model, which is required to render React components on the web or on the browser, and the next is the React scripts component. The React scripts component is used to run different scripts, and I will show you how this works. The next file is the readme.md file, which is basically a big boilerplate documentation generated for you by React. You can edit this file as you wish. The next is a yarn.log file. You should modify this file. This file is basically keeps changing whenever you install new packages and run yarn add, the command yarn add. So this was the directory structure for a basic empty React application, and I will show you how it looks once we fire up the server. So to fire up the server, we will type in yarn and space start. This will load up the server, and it will automatically open the browser in localhost 3000. As you can see, the server is loaded, and this is how an empty React application looks like. It's just telling you welcome to React application. To get started, edit the app.js file and save reload. Just to see whether this works, we will load up the app component, and let's just remove all of this boilerplate that we don't require and enter a simple p tag. This is my first React application, and hit save, and this will automatically reload this, and you can see this is my first React application. So that was basically the directory structure explained in simple terms. In the next lesson, we'll be coding our components and learning how different components go where. We'll also be using another library called React Strap, which is used to integrate Bootstrap components into React. See, what React Strap does is it gives you a bunch of pre-styled components that you can use and add to your React application. See you in the next lesson.